The Sky Bet League One weekend was won, I reckon, by the two fan-owned clubs in the division. That's Exeter and that's Wimbledon. Both of them unfancied this season, among the favourites for relegation. Both of them lost on opening weekend. Exeter to a late penalty, Wimbledon to a late own goal. They went home to play for the first time in front of their fans, and they both notched big wins. Exeter 4, Blackpool 1. Really nice this from Exeter. 2 goals from open play, 2 goals from set pieces. Really good bit of play from Jack Aitchison for the first goal, who sprinted down the touchline, received a ball that wasn't easy to control. Not only did he elect to not even bother controlling it, but basically flicked it inside over the defender that was coming to close him down, which completely opened up the Blackpool defence, and Reece Cole benefited with a goal. That was a great start to the game. What else do we have? Jaden Wareham scoring, wearing the number 9 shirt, previously worn by Adam Stansfield, and putting in a fantastic performance at the top of the pitch, full of endeavour, and that goal as well. Sonny Cox came off the bench, the young Exeter Academy graduate striker, getting a goal himself and a bit of confidence there. But just shape-wise, tactically, defensively, this was a classy performance all round. And Blackpool only had 3 shots in the first 80 minutes of this game, even though Exeter were ahead after just 4 minutes. So I'm taking a lot from this performance, and, you know, we explained why we thought that they might struggle this season. And, you know, they haven't finished below 16th for the last 3 seasons, Exeter, so it would be a big drop-off to suddenly get relegated. And we perceive the difficulties of being a fan-owned club where you just can't afford to lose money like other clubs around you, and therefore you can't afford to raise your playing budget to the levels of other teams around you, is going to bite at some point. But when they play like this, you get confident that there's just something about the club that means they can somehow overcome that. It really was really impressive. And it came at the end of a week in which, you know, the club, those running the club, communicated to fans that a budget increase that they'd been hoping to achieve has had to be scrapped because it's just not viable. So really great for them to see so many of their new players like Swinkles, Brierley, Doyle Hayes playing really well, because they have to get there. You know, there's so little room for error for them when it comes to player recruitment. So good signs for them, but very concerning from a Blackpool point of view, more so than their 3-2 home defeat to Stevenage for me, for sure, because that was like eye-catching individual errors from defenders, from goalkeepers. This looked like a system issue as well, where they just were so easy to cut open, a bit weak from set pieces, just not at all what we expected to see from them. Very little going forward as well, just a bit of a nothing performance, and they need to respond quickly. Otherwise, this season, which, you know, we had quite high hopes for with Blackpool, it couldn't have started any worse, basically. Tell me a bit about that game at Plough Lane. Wimbledon 2, Lincoln 0.
Yeah, Dons obviously came here off the back of a pretty galling way to lose away at Luton on opening day, where they acquitted themselves really well, and they got their own slice, well, not a slice of luck, but they were benefited by a red card to Adam Jackson. Wow, it was quite a weird one where Stevens kind of running onto a long ball. Jackson seems to get there first, kind of booted up in the air, but his studs are obviously up, and then Stevens kind of runs into the boot, so the studs are going to his chest. I kind of think
there. When you saw it,
yeah,
full speed first time, did you think that's dangerous play?
No.
Oh, it probably shouldn't have been a red card in your eyes then.
I know.
There you go.
But then at the same time, he does. It's just difficult. I don't understand how, if you want to clear a bouncing ball that is too low to header, and you want to boot it in the air, your studs are going to be in the air.
Yeah.
So like,
and if someone
and you got there first,
is running straight at you,
yeah, they're going to run into it,
into the studs.
Correct.
Problems.
So I can definitely see why it was given. I can understand why Don's fans listening to this are wondering if I'm going mad, but I'm not sure it should be a red card. They then got a penalty just before half time, with Stevens converting after a handball from Sonny Bradley, which I'm not going to complain about. And then Asimwe scoring from a set piece, putting a rebound away, who looked really lively down the right-hand side for Don's all game. So yeah, the first home game of the season against a tricky opponent, but playing 11v10, managed to break them down, albeit through a penalty and a set piece. But just a very good day at the office for Johnny Jackson's AFC Wimbledon as they get their first point back in League One.
Understanding that they were playing against 10 for much of the game, and that Lincoln are rarely a team that rack up the shots. I think across 2 games, Wimbledon have only faced 1 shot on target and possibly only like 8 or 9 shots total.
Just the 2 shots total from Lincoln.
Reflects pretty well on their defence. Again, even if it is against 10 men, it's still impressive when you're ahead before half time to exert that level of like control even when defending a lead. And of course against Luton they restricted them to next to nothing as well, so really encouraging signs. Barnsley and Burton, it's fair to say neither of them are particularly impressive defensive teams at the moment, but that was kind of good news for the neutrals. Served up a bit of a classic at Oakwell in which Burton went 2-0 up early at Barnsley and Barnsley came roaring back to win 3-2 in injury time. It was an early penalty given away by David McGoldrick, just sort of throwing himself at a set piece, leading with his arm and clattering a Burton player. I didn't think those complaints were particularly merited. Scored by Jake X. Jeasley. Perfect for someone with that nickname to be on penalties. And then Fabio Tavares, who's kind of the Ruman Burrell replacement, I guess. He streaked clear in behind, went round the goalkeeper and put them 2-0 up not long afterwards. So I think for Barnsley to come back here at Oakwell, where they had such a bad record last season, shows encouraging mentality. And in terms of the play itself, I can't help but notice that down the right-hand side, Harahan's got something cooking that's kind of interesting to me, right? So they're playing basically a right back that just stays at home. In the first game, it was De Giovigny. In this game, it was Bland. Then they've got Caelan Vickers as the right winger, but Adam Phillips, the attacking midfielder, if you like, is basically playing right midfield as well. They are doubling up out wide, Vickers and Phillips, to great effect. Phillips really good on the ball in tight spaces, and Vickers a bit of a live wire with good movement. It seems to be working really, really well. Mentioned Phillips's goal contribution stats last week and how he's just so dependable for like 15 to 20 goals and assists a season, which is just so valuable. He's already got 3 this season because he got the goal last week against Argyle, 2 assists here, 1 for Vickers, which was a lovely finish, and McGoldrick swept home the winner from a Phillips cross as well. Davis Keylor Dunn scored, tapped in a rebound after a powerful Connell strike was pushed to the side. So great comeback, really, really great scenes at the end there. David McGoldrick giving it the biceps, better biceps than me, even age 37. And just what a stat this is, George. David McGoldrick scored a league goal for the 20th consecutive season. The 20th consecutive season from 06-07 to 25-26. And Barnsley are the 11th different side he scored for in that time.
Amazing. Given this is our 10th season, I wonder how many players there are who've scored in every season that we've done.
Yeah.
Because he's one. We know that.
Wow. Let's try and put that together for our extravaganza 10-year anniversary party,
Quiz,
which will be in, let's say, May.
Yeah.
I've got a good feeling, partly because Conor Harahan's always been one of my favourite people in football. I've got a decent feeling that he could get something going here. Like, the football's pretty fun. The players look pretty happy. They've not
loved his post-match interview as well.
Yeah, what did he say?
He's got quite emotional. He even said, I'm going to get emotional,
Wow.
saying how the fans stood by them throughout the game, never telling them, kept singing, even at 2-0 down.
I love hearing that. Well, guess what? It's Bolton at home on Saturday. Wow, big.
Yeah.
Bolton, who beat Plymouth Argyle by 2-0, reacting well to that opening day defeat at Stockport.
Yeah, they were impressive that day, and they were pretty impressive here as well. Argyle had a lot of the ball, but did very little with it. Didn't really create much at all. Owen Toll scored one of the 752 headers from a set piece over the course of the weekend, and it was deserved. Mason Burstow scored the second halfway through the second half, which again was a kind of fair reflection of where they were. Interesting to see that Burstow came in to start the game ahead of John McAtee, which feels like a better fit in terms of the striker, but the star of the show here was Mario Cozier-Dubry, who we spoke about last week. Again, just a really, really good performance from him on the right-hand side, just taking on his man consistently and doing so effectively, and I think he looks like one who could be a little bit too good for the level. So yeah, Bolton, first half against Stockport, they were brilliant. The whole game here, they were brilliant. It feels like Shuey has, over the course of pre-season, turned this group into a really good side. I am worried about Argyle. I think definitely 2 quite difficult games to start the season, albeit home against Barnsley maybe shouldn't have been as difficult as they made it. But they have been way off Barnsley and Bolton in their first 2 games. They have got Lincoln away and then Orient at home next to Blackpool, Cardiff. Like, it's not an easy run at all this, albeit Blackpool, as we've said, struggling a little bit to start the season. But for Tom Cleverley to come in, I think there's been this idea that like they're going to refresh the squad. They're going to bring in a young, talented manager and look to build with no kind of no need to achieve this season in terms of being desperate to get back up. It's not kind of win at all cost mentality. But I'm sitting here now wondering if they could feasibly be one of the poorer teams in the league. Again, 2 games, like loads of time to improve, and it's definitely a work in progress. We'll expect players, young players, to grow, but just in isolation in these 2 games, if I had to kind of rank what we've seen so far, I think Argyle would be one of the worst teams in the league so far.
Yeah, Peterborough haven't started well either. They lost at home to Luton, that opening day defeat at Cardiff. 2 pretty tough fixtures, you have to say, from a Peterborough United point of view. And although Darren Ferguson was very critical, particularly of their second half performance after a decent first half, I don't really want to go in 2-footed just based on the fixtures that they've had so far. And when I look at their next 4 in the league, Wigan away, Barnsley at home, Bradford at home, and Exeter away, takes us to the end of August. And I think we will know pretty definitively by the end of August what this posh team can expect this season. But they've certainly got an issue defending set pieces. It's not that surprising given the sorts of players that they try and prioritise in the transfer market tend to be technical types, not necessarily beefy types. Not much had happened really for about an hour in this game. They were doing fine. Luton, similar, I guess, in a way to that Wimbledon game. Not giving away very much, but not creating a huge amount either. Big Mads Anderson had already done some pretty big defending at one end and then headed in the opener at the other end from a George Saville set piece. I was pleased to see that Luton had Ali at left wing back. Not me.
I bet you were.
Not me. I would not like to play wing back in any professional match. A bit too much up and down for me. I'd like to play behind Nicky Wells. That'd be fine. Me and Jordan Clark just buzzing around.
You don't have to run too much there, do you not think?
No, I wouldn't run at all.
Buzzing around while staying still.
Yeah, no, sorry. As in, like, I would be running around going, bzzz,
right, great,
just to freak out the opposition. I just use any technique I can to
cool.
disrupt the oppo. Like when someone's about to take a shot and you shout at them. Is that a good form?
What do you say? Just scream.
Put them off. Yeah.
Boo.
Leave it.
Yeah. Oh,
I think that's considered pretty.
Have you ever shouted someone else's name?
Yeah. Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeffs.
Yeah. Anything to win. And that's why I think Luton should be looking at bringing me in. Ali at left wing back makes a lot more sense to me than Nigel Longvike at left wing back. There was one nice attack that I felt was encouraging where he got the ball out wide 1v1, dangerous dribble inside, and Naismith, the left centre back, absolutely tanked it forward and got outside him. He slipped him in, Naismith hit the side netting. Like when I think about Luton and how they might look at their best once they get going in this shape with 3 centre backs and the wing backs, they have to get those centre-backs involved. They have to be a bit more confident and bullish in the middle and final third. And they haven't really achieved that yet. But the fact that they've only given up, I think, 0.03 XG so far across 2 games does bode pretty well for 0s and 1s. And it's 2 clean sheets and 2 wins to 0. Same for Huddersfield. They went to the Madstad in Reading and won 2-0.
As opposed to the other Madstad. Yes, one of the early games. And... Guess what?
What?
Jack Watmore scored a header from a set piece to put them 1-0 up. Another one.
What, more?
Yeah, more set piece goals going in around the country. After what had been a relatively tight opening exchange.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that Lewis Wing had to hobble off after 25 minutes, which is a massive worry, I would say, for Reading. He is a huge player for them, not just in terms of his... obvious ability to score long-range screamers, but also just kind of running the show in the middle of the park for them. In his departure, I think, probably the brightest part of the game for them is the first 25 minutes or so. And they have to hope that isn't anything serious or long-term. Interesting to see Joe Taylor kind of played off the right-hand side for Huddersfield. Not necessarily a role that we expect to see him in, but
Alfie's done a bit out there as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, they're kind of rotating a bit.
What happens when you've got 5 strikers?
Yeah,
they can't all play up top.
Yeah, but they were pretty good. It wasn't by any stretch like a really dominant performance where they were by far the better team, but probably deserving of the win. And Cameron Ashia, 18-year-old who came off the bench and scored with a really nice finish and looked to enjoy himself in doing it too, which is always nice. So Huddersfield make it 6 points and 0 goals conceded to start the season. And given what Leyton Orient did over the weekend, having beat them 3-0, I think things are looking pretty good for Huddersfield in the League Grant, leaving last season's poor performance well behind.
Yeah, great start to the season. Truly a brimful of Cameron Asher.
Well done.
Stockport beat Wycombe 2-1. Another team off to a strong start. 6 points out of 6, beating Bolton and Wycombe. That's a great start to the season with that fixture list.
Yeah, I mean, massively so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say...
That's why I said it.
But results-wise, yes. I think there are maybe some red flags, maybe a bit too much, but I wouldn't say they've looked as dominant as they often have done when they've been good. Wycombe seem to have developed a real knack for going 2 goals down and then looking quite good at 2-0 down, which they've done in both of their games so far, because last kind of 15, 20 minutes or so here, they looked pretty good. But yeah, Stockport in the first half, Carl Wootton getting his second in 2 games, such an important player for them in terms of what he does away from scoring, but we also know that with service he can score goals, and he did well to finish off Jack Diamond's cross, and it was Diamond who scored the second goal just after half-time with a really, really good finish into kind of the roof of the net. But Wycombe then missed a penalty through Alex Lowry. I'm not entirely sure why Luke Leahy didn't take the penalty, who you'd expect to.
I don't know either.
Seems a bit odd, but Lowry missed it. And then Mullins, Jamie Mullins came. He started the game and he scored their Wycombe goal with about 15 minutes or so to go. Well taken goal, and they kind of huffed and puffed a bit in the last 50 minutes or so, but couldn't find a way through. So I'd say these two teams, like Wycombe, are the ones where it's a bad start results-wise. It's 0 points, but there have been some promise within the games, albeit when they've been behind. For Stockport, there have been some alarming moments, haven't looked particularly good defensively, but they've come away from the 2 games with 6 points. So I'd say Wycombe maybe not quite as bad as the points tally suggests, and maybe Stockport not quite as good.
Yeah, Mansfield and Donny. Here we have a team with a bad points tally and a team with a good points tally. Donny won 2-1 late and from behind against Mansfield, who are on 0 points through 2 games. Stephen McLaughlin had put them ahead with a fantastic
what a goal
hit from range.
A little run as well.
Nice little run, nice little ping. Stephen McLaughlin, nice to meet you.
I like the idea of, being 35 years old, coming on at half time and then doing that. It's just quite fun.
Yeah. But Donny coming back and winning it. Owen Bailey, captain, leader, centre mid, centre back if needed, right back if needed, striker.
Why not?
When needed, when one down. Threw himself at a set piece, which ended up in the net.
Another one.
I think he's been given the goal. Pretty sure it was an OG, but you can have that, Owen, particularly because you went one better. Finishing off ball across from Molyneux to score the winner. One of 3 captains that scored big winners this weekend. Dale Fry of Borough, Stevens of Southampton, and Owen Bailey of Donny. You love to see that. Maximum points for Donny, and great to see, really. I think in both games, narrow victories, one from the spot against Exeter, and here kind of scraping their way back in from kind of set piece situations. So couldn't have been much of a better start, really. Nigel Clough, his Mansfield side on 0 points. And I think when you end last season like they did, you kind of need a line in the sand. They have not got that yet. It means that in their last 25 games in League One, they've got 17 points in 25 games. It's not a good return, that. And he was fuming to lose from 1-0 up, very critical about his team and doing that, and just made the point about League Two promotion momentum, saying like Donny have got it, and you could see that. We had it this time last season with a strong start, and very clearly said we don't have that at the moment. So pretty tough scene for Mansfield, but what a start from Donny. And then Leyton Orient and Wigan, a 2-0 win for Orient. This basically a complete flip of their opening day results. And look, on the pod, we prefer to celebrate the good rather than highlight the bad. But sometimes records get broken and we can't ignore them. So here goes. Wigan's Steven Sessegnon was a first player in League One history, that's from 2004, and the first in any of England's top tiers since February 2021 to score an own goal and be sent off in the same match. The old Jonathan Woodgate, as we call it. His goal, or rather his own goal, was a very impressive, like diving chest.
Yeah, really good.
Perfectly into the corner. Really, really suboptimal when your centre-back's finishing off crosses from the oppo. He was booked on 38th minute for a late lunge, bit of frustration. And then he was sent off with a straight red. For a last man
foul. Has anyone ever done that? Has anyone done the hat trick?
No one's ever done. Let's just say that.
Own goal, yellow card, straight red. and it was a straight red that he knew. It was such an obvious one where like he was a terrible first touch from the turn into Aaron Connolly's path, and he just cleaned him out.
Yeah.
And I think Connolly even helped him up. It was like, everyone knows what's happening here, mate. You've just had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, a bit of a mess from Cess. But some nice Orient attacking. Some of these new attacking players enjoying themselves at home. Karoma scored a nice second. His kind of homecoming, obviously having come through the youth system at Orient, a local lad with a nice, powerful finish into the near post. Nick, a very happy Orient fan on NTT20 squad. Beckles and Happy looked good at centre-back. Idris El-Miz, the best player on the pitch in his eyes. Karoma and O'Neill and Connolly a threat all game. Whereas, for Wigan, after that opening day blitz of cobblers, 4 shots, none on target in this game. Like, we went up there this week, George, to do our first batch of filming for the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. And we had an unbelievable 36 hours up in Wigan.
Yeah.
Partly because everyone was absolutely buzzing about Ryan Lowe's Latics, and pretty much everyone we spoke to was predicting a top 6 finish.
Including me.
I guess my concern at the time, and this isn't after timing, you heard me say it, and don't pretend you didn't, is that maybe home to Northampton was like the easiest game of the season on the first game of the season. And maybe that dominant win was more to do, or as much to do with the opposition as it was their own skill. This 2-0 defeat without laying a glove on Orient slightly backs that up. On a more positive note, it was great to get out, get on the road. It was great to start doing what we're going to do a lot of this season, and that is visiting clubs, and in particular visiting club charities and community trusts, and get amongst it, basically understand what they're doing and why, and how the grants from the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund are helping them. We had a great time up there.
Great place, yeah, really nice. I was looked after there as well by those at the community trust and those at the club and the training ground. Had a nice chat with Ryan Lowe. It's good to catch up. Asked us where we had them in the 1 to 24s, which was always amusing.
10th, I think. I think it was actually 14th.
Was it?
Something like that.
So yeah, it was good. We watched a bit of training. They had more shots than 4 in the shooting drills.
Yeah,
and they found the corners for the most part. So yeah, it's kind of not because of that, but generally surprised that they, that they were unable to really get in the game at all at Orient. But that just goes to show again that Orient, who struggled on opening day, put in a really good performance here. Wigan, who maybe came down to London thinking, with a bit of a skip in their step, brought back down to earth a little bit. But for Orient, especially given how many players they lost, and I think there's still a bit of work to be done. Really like the O'Neill, Connolly, Karoma front line they've got now. El-Miz back in midfield gives them a really nice option. There are reasons to be positive again. I feel like Richie Wellens is starting to form it'll be a new team compared to last season, but another good team. Yeah,
and look, we're looking forward to telling you even more about Wigan Athletic Community Trust's Every Player Counts programme. We'll have a whole feature video coming out on it at some point, which we will share far and wide, and we'll talk about it further on a Monday pod in due course. But thank you to everyone at Wigan and the Community Trust for having us up last week. We had a great time. Stevenage having a great time at the moment. 2 wins out of 2. They beat Rotherham by 1-0.
They did, yeah. Another really solid performance. Rotherham, who won on opening day 2-1, were relatively poor here, I would say, albeit maybe Stevenage being very solid as we expect them to be. Didn't really give much away at all. The goal came from a really nicely taken Jamie Reid header, profiting from a really nice ball. Who played the ball in?
I think it was Dan Butler.
It was Dan Butler, correct. Yeah, nice ball from Butler. Reid kind of timing his run perfectly between defenders and heading into the back of the net. And it was what they deserved. Rotherham weren't really able to get back into the game at all. Stevenage, who last season were so impressive for the first half of the campaign and then tailed off a little bit, have made some really obviously good additions. They're 11 that's really strong for League One on paper, and they've started the season as if they're going to be very, very solid at worst, I would say, looking like they could be dark horses maybe.
Sam Nombe came off injured. Not ideal. Keon Atete as well. He's only just joined. He came off injured. 2 striker injuries for Rotherham. Northampton 0, Bradford 0, and Port Vale 0, Cardiff 0 were matches that happened. Based on the balance of play and chances created, you'd say that Vale on Thursday night against Cardiff and Bradford on Saturday against Northampton, probably the better sides in those two games, but couldn't find the bag of onions. 0-0